I just think that this Cardinals series overall, it's one I was looking at that it's got some spice. And game one lived up to that.
Say sauce.
Sauce boss, spice, Scherzer versus Michaelis. We were joking during the break. I don't usually gamble on baseball, but I was thinking those over-unders are usually right there around 6.5, 7, 7.5, depending on the pitching matchup. And I was asking Nate, what's the over-under in that game? And he said it was 6.5. So if you have that under ticket, you're sitting there. It is the bottom of the eighth. It is 0-0. And look, I go into every bet feeling like I'm going to lose. I truly do. That's the way to go, is to always feel like you're going to lose. And then you're either expectations.
Then why do it?
Well, no, it's about managing expectations. If you lose, okay, emotionally, you don't take that hit. If you win, it's all good. But if you're holding that ticket and it's 0-0 in the bottom of the eighth and the game goes over 5-2, that's a rough one. That's a rough one right there.
That's why, that's why I don't bet. One, I mean, I get it. I think it's a big business. People love it. I'm not critical of that. People should do what they want to do, and I understand what they get from it. But to me, if I'm not working and I'm on the couch watching the game, I hope the Cardinals win. I said it. I admit it. I don't want to have a wager that's going to make me either like the game or not like the game. I just want to sit back and enjoy it. So, I mean, I'm different that way. I understand it. And what did Tim used to call it? Emotional, like insurance or something? He would bet, like when he wanted a team to win, he would bet the other way. So if they lost, he would get something out of it or something, right?
Emotional risk management.
Yeah, something like that. And I get that. But that wouldn't do it for me. Like if I want my team to win, I want them to win.
See, I'm the opposite of that, where I'm not enough of a fan of any team. All due respect. I want all of our local teams to win. I hope everybody knows that. Even Ohio State football, the only team I really care about.
Let's not talk about it.
But my point is, I want them to win.
That's for trivia later.
But I don't want them to win more than I like money, right? So if my team won, but I lost money, I'd still be mad about that. So the emotions wouldn't outweigh the other. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I don't want, like, if I'm going to sit home and watch a Cardinal game, I'm going to enjoy Scherzer, Michaelis, both at the top of their game. Awesome. So I just want to sit back and enjoy it. I don't want to have any sort of investment riding on it.
If I would have bet on that game last night, I would be very upset. And I didn't. But, you know, the Cardinals had some value. They were plus 140 in the game. And, like, they've had some success against Scherzer. Like, you know, plus 140 at home. Got a team that's playing pretty well. Michaelis is pitching well, and then you take a 2-0 lead in the bottom of the eighth inning and you cough up 5 runs. That would have not as much as it left a bad taste to lose that game anyhow.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
Really been rough. And if you had the under 6.5, that's a rough way to go.
And I look at that game last night because it was fun. I didn't like the ending, obviously, but to watch those guys do it. So many people are like, oh, baseball needs more offense. Not necessarily like that. The game last night was not the problem that baseball's facing. And so when people say it needs more offense, I like what I saw last night. Now, you're not going to get that all the time because Scherzer isn't pitching every night, and neither is Michaelis. And those are the games, the sloppy games that take 5 hours. I hate even talking about the time because I think baseball's preoccupied with the length of games. If it's a fun game where a lot of good stuff happened, I'm fine with 4 hours, you know? But there's a lot of slop in between.
And last night, though, it was crisp. It was exactly a 3-hour game. And if you don't have that furious comeback, it's probably a 240 game. And that. Yeah, and I agree with you. I always, if you ask me if I go to a baseball game and you could have your pick, I'd prefer a nice, crisp 4-3 ball game with a little bit of everything, with a home run here, with a couple doubles, well pitched.
A couple of good defensive gems.
Some nice web gems. But if you're going to give me two guys who are dealing in different ways, by the way, big strikeout guy, Miles Michaelis, is just throwing strikes, just pumping, filling up the zone with strikes the whole way. That's another part. If you're the Cardinals early and you're looking at what this team can be, and I understand last night was a very disappointing loss, but if Miles Michaelis is anywhere in the stratosphere of what, that was 2018 Miles Michaelis, the first year where you forget he was top 10 in the Cy Young. Mm-hmm. I'm not asking him to be that, but it's early, and right now his ERA is 1.21. But if
And
he can,
he could be this year.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If he can be anywhere close to that, that's a guy that we kind of entered the season as a bit of a health question mark. And I mean, in a way, it kind of gets back to that Tarasenko discussion we had earlier, where you went in kind of just not knowing what you were going to get from Miles Mikolas, so the expectations were pretty low. He could surpass that because he has that in him. We've seen it a couple years ago when he was one of the best pitchers in the National League.
We saw that with Dakota coming back and didn't have a lot of work at spring training. His first couple outings, not great, didn't have great command. Now we're seeing him snap back in. You know, what you see from a guy like Mikolas from Dakota, and the fact that even, Waino, where he doesn't pitch well in Cincinnati, able to keep his team in it, where I think starts like that, when he wasn't going well, would end up with a lopsided score that you couldn't overcome, tells you that maybe the rotation is going to be better than we thought it would be.
Look, if you got Mikolas anywhere near his 2018 form, I mean, that's just huge. Because now you're talking about, I've always thought if you can get 3 out of your 5 guys, at least to have some idea of what you're going to get. And I think Wainwright, you can pretty much say he's going to be successful. If Mikolas is anything like he was last night, that's a huge boost. And then building off of what he did last Saturday, I mean, Dakota Hudson pitching into the 7th inning, 6 2/3. And the key for Dakota has always been don't walk guys.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a great defense. I know last night happened, but you got a great defense. Don't walk guys. And that's why the key tonight for Jordan Hicks has got to be to throw strikes. Because if we're going to be talking about a guy who might be able to pitch 5 innings, you're not going to get 5 innings if you're walking 2-3 batters.
Yeah,
They're
you
just
gotta
not going
be-
to let you
you're
get
right.
over 50.
You got to be efficient. We were talking about that before you showed up, that Hicks went 3 in his last outing. He's still being built up, obviously. I don't know what the pitch count will be. They're usually more conservative. Last time was 45, 50. I think he ended up with 46. But he said he feels like he can go out there and throw 5 this time. That would be, if he can get through that and look at, because his stuff, there's times it just doesn't seem fair to the hitter, the way it moves and the velocity. So if he can harness that and be a pitcher, give him 6 innings, it's going to be great.
That's where the rest of the series, you have a lot more, to quote the late, great Joe Strauss, #intrigue. You got Jordan Hicks. And then the series finale, you got Steven Matz facing his former team. Jordan Hicks tonight. I wouldn't expect 5. If he could go 5, that would be fantastic. But if he can just build up, give you a nice solid 4, and maybe
60
he gets
pitches?
to, yeah, I was going to say 55, 60 pitches. That's a nice progression. I don't think you're worrying right now about workload. You have these expanded rosters. You mentioned you got a guy like Verhagen that heads to the IL, but you also have some guys who need work. Jake Woodford sat for a week and a half because due to rainouts, and also I think the managing of Hicks for the first couple series, they were clearly trying to get him out there close to a starter's day off schedule. So now that he's fixed as a starter, I think some of those other roles will kind of fall into place, and maybe who will piggyback him in terms of length, because right now he's not going to give you 6. Maybe he gives you 4, but it'd be nice to have somebody ready to go with a 2-inning piggyback situation.
And I like Woodford stuff.
I do too.
I think he's a plus.
I just think at some point we have to take the training wheels off of Jordan Hicks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't go even a half a season where it's like, oh, we got to still be careful with Jordan Hicks. It's always been that way with Hicks. Like, oh, we can't use him back to back. Oh, we can't. Oh, we got to see what Jordan Hicks can give
I
you.
get that, but that's what making him a starter supposedly is all about, is that you put him on a regular rotation and you don't have to worry about managing him day to day, out of the bullpen. He gets a start every 5th day, and he's done it in the past, and he was healthy back then, so they think that this will be easier to manage than having to every day figure out where you're going to put him and how much time he needs off. See if he can flourish in that sort of regimen.
I can't remember many cases, though, of guys even looking at Alex Reyes where it was like load management and trying to determine how much a guy could take on, and that being very successful. Like, one of the nice things, and I brought up Dakota, but I didn't even mention METS. My gosh, we get what METS is doing. But right now, you've got between Wainwright, Mikolas, and METS, guys that you can just, you feel like you send them out there and let them go.
Yep.
And let him go.
I think the rotation is in a good place if Hicks can go start going 5 or 6. You get 6.
That'd be huge.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to do that with Hicks. It's just going to be on this progression.
Yeah.
If Hicks pitches well, I totally expect him to throw 90 pitches plus per outing, but it probably won't be for 3 outings. Like, they're probably going to go, as Kat said, because he threw about 45, 46ers. They're probably going to go 60 this outing. They're going to hope for 75 next outing. And then this is probably 3 starts from now. If he progresses, then hopefully he's at 90. And as you said, the training wheels are totally off. But I think because of the weird spring training or lack thereof, I think the training wheels have been on to a certain extent everybody for the first month. And I think in the next couple weeks, you get to May, you get to mid-May, and you're going to start seeing guys throw 108 pitches like we have. And I understand that some people want, hey, let him throw 125 pitches like back in the day. That's probably not going to happen anymore. But I do think you're going to see a Jordan Hicks throwing 90-plus pitches here in 3 weeks or so.